if you are naughty, you're not in your neighborhood, and you're in some other neighborhood, and you do something naughty, in our time, somebody could see you and say, who you be? Who be your papa? After you don't ask that question, say, oh, no, they behave like this for this house. He go correct you, he go send you back, go meet your parents, say, this is what I found your kid doing. Everybody's eye was on the young people, the teachers, the community.
Yes.
Because for my time, when you don't finish like class 5, before you go to the university and you have a good result, before you come back to your house, many people don't call party for your head.
Yes.
It was a thing of pride for parents to say, my son is doing so well in school. It wasn't about the money.
But would you say there's also the part played by population explosion?
It's population explosion, wrong priorities, wrong values. You know, after the war, when we now started to adopt the system, my teeth better pass your teeth. Now there everything crash. Because a thief is a thief. There are consequences of stealing.
Yes.
So all thieves should be prosecuted the same way.
Same way, yes.
Not be when your man there for position of power and he's a bloody thief. You say, no, it's okay. But when my own thief come now, it becomes a problem for you. Until we can solve that. It's a mindset thing.
Yeah.
Your thief is better than my thief.
You're saying there must be equality in justice.
Precise now. Precise now. Do A as you take do B. The problem we're having in Nigeria today is because of the too many injustices everywhere. In the north, in the south, in the west, in the east. Injustice everywhere.
Let's evaluate the problem of insecurity in our country. There's so much call for breakup. North wants to go, East wants to go, West wants to go. Where are we going?
We're entering a big dark ditch. We don't know who is flying this plane. This contraption called Nigeria, where is it from? Is it our creation? Or is it the British creation? So, if you have leadership from the 19th century, it can't fit in the 21st century, can it? It can't work.
It can't, yes.
Yeah? If you have a building with a faulty foundation, with the foundation of the building, they know doing well. Then after you don't build like 2 stories, you want to put the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th on a faulty foundation, will that house stand? My brother, you know go stand now.
Yeah.
So
what's the solution?
The solution, bring down this house. Start again. Because whether we like it or not, what is coming, what is about to happen to us is worse than what we've seen already.
By bring down the house, are you saying restructure?
It could be restructuring if we go agree. Because you see, this is a give and take situation. Husband and wife live together. They no go talk. When they come to the table, if they have differences, they talk it out.
Yeah.
They have equal respect for one another.
Yeah.
If now the husband just they do what you do, na me dey here, na me be Lord and Master, how the marriage go work now? That is it. Because before we used to have this regional system where we made contribution to the center.
Yeah.
Why monkey go to walk babu the chop? I don't understand. That is the injustices that I'm talking about. That is why Biafra people want to go their own. Oduduwa people want to go their own. Arawa people want to go their own. Because they can't stand these injustices. So until we come to the table to have that conversation sincerely and genuinely, I'm sorry, it's going to get worse. Then we now bring down the house. The house will fall, bata, bata. Then we can start from beginning and correct that faulty foundation that we failed to correct in the first instance.
That's your prescription.
That's my prescription.
Talking
And
about,
that's the only way I can see it working.
talking about prescription, have you taken your COVID-19 vaccination?
They were supposed to come. They were supposed to come to the house this morning. I don't know what happened. So I'm hoping that this week, they come to me.
Supposed to come.
Yes.
Area father.
Yes, sir.
Ew.
I say, Father. Hey.
But what would you say to people about the vaccine and being healthy?
Well, how much time remains for me now?
Not to talk like that. Not scare us
No,
now.
just being realistic. How much time remain now? If na poison be the vaccine, they give me that. Man must die. Something killed a man. Yeah, it can't be that bad. Prevention is better than cure. So I rather know that I've done everything
Good.
to be safe. So whatever happens, happens. So it's a good thing. I think I like to encourage people to go out and have the vaccine. How bad could it be? Yeah.
Yes.
And still wear the face masks and practice good hygiene.
Good hygiene. Now, you don't like being reminded of your age. You love being the one to tell
No,
us that you are.
because age. What is
Wait
age?
now, I
Age
never
is
finished the
neither-
thing
Okay,
now.
sorry,
Make you
sorry,
hear
sorry,
me
sorry,
now.
Okay,
Which one?
Okay.
See, in regular society, everybody will be calling you senior citizen, elder statesman, and all that. But all of those things don't resonate with you.
No.
How does it feel to be a grandfather?
I don't feel any different. I feel the same way I felt 30, 40 years ago.
But how do you
not a big
relate
deal.
with your grandchildren?
I have 16. Like my relationship with my children, not like father and son. They're like two adults, two playful, spoiled kids. And that's the way I like it because my children tell me everything. You can't imagine sometimes I'm dazed by what they're saying to me, but I try not to show it so they will always feel that they have a hip father, that I'm with the times, Because the kind things where they come out for their mouth, I say, okay, let me bond them anyway. And when I remember as I shaking my parents too, I will just laugh. I go calm down for Jesus because what goes around comes around.
It comes around. I wish your mom were alive.
No, my mom, I had a good time with my mom after my father left. It was 3 years, so all the love was showered on her. And my mom pulled the biggest trick. I don't think she knew that I would have loved to be with her as she passes along, but she waited till I traveled when I wasn't around and decided to leave. And for a few days I didn't forgive her about that. I thought it was that wasn't the plan. But yes, I had fun with my mother. I always joked about her vision, and that's why I call her a witch, because she was very futuristic in her thinking.
She was like a prophetess to you.
Precise.
So the kind witch where you say your mama carry, you never seen type before. Why?
Simple. She was very futuristic, forward thinking. She held my father. That woman held the house. My father was a player. But my mom tamed him. And tamed all of us. more or less.
But she was also very soft towards you.
Oh, yes. Because she was the first to see that boy in me. She used to call me from the very first day I did hear something. I could comprehend things. She used to always call me Charlie Boy. So that's how that name came about. Because that was my pet name.
So the Charlie Boy actually came from her.
Yes. Yeah. That's why they call him Winch. Yeah. And when people want to get into issues about how old are you, I say, I beg when I leave that thing. If my mama be Winch, waiting it is, I have vampire blood now. What do I have to do with old age?
You had your first child at 17.
At 16.
16?
Yeah. I'm from Bele spoil now.
From Bele?
From Bele.
Tell me.
Now make, if to say all these funny pastors, they for that time, night vigil, them for the carry me go deliverance. Yeah,
But your mom took care of that's your first child. What's your relationship with him now?
I didn't even agree that it was my child now. Now, when I come, things begin work out for me, that I became more mature, that I went back to look for him. But then, at that time, we were supposed to be in school, not going around and getting women pregnant.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
But your mom did not, she didn't give up on you.
No, just like I can't give up on my kids. You know, like I told you, children are like monkey see, monkey do. I've always seen my mom and my father together since I was born.
Yes.
Even when they have challenges and issues, before I turn my head the other way, I see them stealing kisses, holding hands, you know.
And that's why you're still with your wife?
I guess, because I wanted to be better than what I saw. You understand?
Would you give yourself a pass mark now? Or would you grade yourself, looking at their sheet and your sheet?
Yes, I've tried. 45 years is no more now.
Yes.
Staying with somebody, no. The same smell, the same body, the same face, the same routine. I try. Over-try worry me.
Something to say to her?
She's my best friend. She knows that.
Look into the camera and tell her.
I don't have to be looking into the camera to tell her. She knows what she knows, and that's why we're all dying here. Nobody's going anywhere.
All right, we're about to round off this session of talk, but we won't go without talking about how to sustain older people in their old age. You're an old man now. What are your needs? What really are the needs of an older person?
You see, I'm always, like I say, I'm such an exceptionally blessed person. Only God fit understand. Okay? The kind blessing where I get, sometimes I don't think I deserve it. Because it could have gone the other way.
Yeah.
You understand? But I think that I'm living my life on purpose because I'm doing really what God had always intended for me to do via people.
Yeah.
I love people. I don't like to see suffering, people in agony. So my heart is always going out for the underdogs. And I got that from my mom. My mom was generous to stupidity. And my father had a little bit of that. And I know that I'm not even supposed to be alive as I'm talking to you. No, because my youth was rough. I got into all kinds of things. Okay? Even drugs. But I healed myself because those were the American years.
Dark days.
Yeah. And I said to myself, this is not how I was brought up. So why are you doing this? I had to even go and see a shrink to figure out, to say something wrong with me or my, only to be told that what activated my misbehavior at the time was the racism I experienced one-on-one in America. At the time, I was with my baby mama. Her sister came to visit. So there were 2 white women. And here I was sandwiched between 2 white women. We're just taking a leisure walk downtown Boston. And then 7 white, excuse my language, white trash comes out of the Cadillac, all with a baseball bat, nigger this, nigger that, just because I was walking with 2 white chicks. One was the mother-to-be of my baby boy. They beat me that day. I thought I was going to die. The only thing that saved me that day was the police. You know, as police just they go around everywhere and are crime now. So they thought that, the white women I was with had run up to call the police. That's how they let me on. That's how I was saved. And I ended spending almost 5 weeks in the hospital. I never forgot that experience. That was just barely 8 months staying in America. I never thought I had racism in my blood. But then my hatred was poignant because I just couldn't figure it out. In our house in Port Harcourt, when my father was a lawyer, he was a legal attorney to Mobile and stuff like that. So when they see Yoruba people, they come house. I didn't think that there were any, I look at them as equals, not as superior to me. Only to go to America, then they ask me where I sabi speak English, whether I live in trees and all that crap, and to call me a nigger. So it wasn't till I saw the shrink when I was now questioning my modus operandi in America. Why am I doing all the stuff that I'm doing? That is kind of alien, that came up.
Okay.
And that was how I was healed, and I said, I'm getting out of this country. I agree now, sir, old. No be lie you talk.
So what
but
does
Charlie
that
boy
old man
can be
need?
old, now.
Yeah, now.
Me as Charles but I agree. No be me they talk now. Sometimes I wake up, my knee is not in the right position. Either my neck don't bend, go one side. Little things like that. I'm more into myself, always checking my prostate, checking this, checking that, as a health freak.
What does a man need, an old person need to survive now?
An old person needs a lot of companionship.
Companionship?
If you have children that are good, that are like Charlie Boy, who took care of his parents, you'll age so gracefully. And because an old person needs to surround himself with family and a lot of love.
Okay.
It can bring sunshine to your life.
Good health?
Good health is a sequence of where you are financially. So if you're a little okay, I think that's a major investment that everybody should make in themselves to make sure all the things are working when they should.
So let me throw you this final one now. All right. Are you okay financially?
Am I okay? Financially. Is Dangote okay financially?
On that note, thank you very much for coming on the program. You didn't disappoint me at all. I was expecting something like that. Thank you so much, Charlie Boy, for coming on the show. That's how we greet now. Eh?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Nice having you. I hope to come back so we can talk again. and look at deeper, other deep stuff.
I think it's very important because most people don't know what people go through. You know, celebrities will always try to put up this strong front. People see us like, oh, I look up to them. They don't cry, they don't suffer, they don't go through depression, they don't have any problems. So for me, as a person, I always like to share my experience with people because I want them to learn from how I've used those experiences to become a better person.
Oftentimes when we see celebrities either on social media, television, or in person, we assume they have it all together, but we forget that they're also human. Well, here are some of the low points of some of your favorite celebrities.
That's very easy. I'll just share one. That's very easy. See, guys, a lot of people see me now slaying and doing a lot of things. They're like, Brian, because see, you be fine boy now, you know as a be now. You got it easy, or things better when you day. But it's not always like. Let me tell you guys something, man. Guys, my first 2 years as anything, as a model, as an entertainer, as an actor, I didn't get one job. I'm not talking about 2 weeks. I'm not talking about 3 months. I'm not talking about one. I'm not talking about 6 months. I'm talking about 2 years. So 2 years I was sitting at home. Not like I wasn't working, not like I wasn't going for castings, not like I wasn't doing whatever others were doing. I didn't get anything, guys. So put that to what you're going through now. Do you get? Because some people get out of school and they're like, I've not made it, man. It's been like 6 months, man. Nothing happened. Bye-bye. 2 years. But here we are. So what I'm trying to say is that everybody has their own timeline. Everybody has their own story. So don't use that to say, don't be looking at somebody else's success and say, because it happened to Rami once, happened to me in 1 week. Bye-bye, no.
Nobody knows I went through the hardship of life and I went through my ups and downs, and I just had only one person who was actually there for me, which was my mom anyways. So I had a rocky university days. I think people don't know that. I actually went to 3 universities and ended up finishing in one shop.
I drove into a filling station and I was meant to get fuel, 4,000. Do you understand? Probably the guy that was selling, he used to be my fan when I was working, in the radio as a presenter. But like, oh, Baba, now you Casey Brown, Baba. He got confused. He gave me full tank instead of 4,000. Do you understand? So, and then I don't have up to that amount to fix it up because in real, I don't get up. All I have with me is 4,000 naira for the fuel and 8,000 naira to buy a fuel cleanser to put in my car. And the guy, so I bought the fuel. I told him, okay, fine. I'll bring you 8,600 because he was begging me, man, God will sack me, it's not my fault. I was okay, fine, I'll bring you 8,600. Bro, I got so busy. I forgot about even giving the guy 8,600. The guy went straight to my Facebook and was like, stop living a fake life. You came to our filling station, you came to buy fuel for credit, they don't want to pay, come and pay me my money, blah, 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 stop faking a fake, stop. I was like, this same dude that was begging me, my boss will sack me, it's my fault. And I was like, I will pay. I entered my car. As soon as I saw that thing, I zoomed straight to the station. They said the guy has been fired. The manager there was begging me. They called the guy in Ikorodu. He went straight and dropped that post himself. I didn't do it. And and the manager said, for this, because I told the guy, I said, one article online about this filling station will cost you guys a bad reputation. They said they will not pay him his balance, a salary that they're supposed to give to him. But I end up pleading for him. Do you understand? So that is what we get every now and then.
I've worked over 12 jobs in my life. Wow. Yeah, I cleaned the lavatory on the plane.
Have you said that anywhere else?
I think on Big Brother I did.
Okay.
I said, stop telling them all those things. I'm like, it's part of my journey. It just reminds me of where I came from. I wasn't born with a silver spoon, but of course my parents were comfortable growing up. But I had to work hard. I had to work hard. So being where I am today, I always think about what I did back in the day, how far I've come, and this is only the beginning. I know that the sky is just the starting point. is definitely not the limit. So yeah.
There was a time in my life I had just moved out of home. I wanted to be a man on my own terms. So I moved out of home, left the family business, and I went to quote unquote hustle. I moved in with a friend of mine who lived in Shomolu. I was so broke because I had nothing. I took nothing from home. That I had to walk from Shomolu to Surulere every day for a year and a half. I had no money. I could barely afford one meal a day. My job at that point, even after graduating from university, was distributing flyers on the streets of Lagos. What that taught me about myself was that I had a never say die attitude, and I have the strength and resilience to face any circumstance. I came out of that stronger. Like sometimes I look back now and I realize if I could have survived that time, then really there are only a few challenges that will come to me or come my way that I wouldn't be able to survive. And with that kind of confidence, I think everybody, when you figure out what it is about you that is special, with that confidence, you can surmount almost every issue that comes your way.
Hello and welcome to One on One. My name is Fumiona Jefe, and today we'll be talking about road safety in Nigeria. My guest is Assistant Corps Commander Sani Abdullahi. He's the unit commander for Lekki Command of the Federal Road Safety Corps. He has an MSc in Defense and Strategic Studies from the Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna, and BSc in Political Science from the University of Abuja. He has experience in the FRC. He has served in various positions in the Corps, including Staff Officer Operations, Head of Protocol Unit at Kaduna State Sector Command, and Media Assistant to Corps Marshal. He has been the Unit Commander for the Lekki Unit Command since August 2021. Welcome with me. Good day, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for making our time to join us today.
I appreciate the platform.
Okay, so let's talk about your growing up. What was growing up like for you, sir?
Oh, God. Thank you very much. I happened to be born in Ajobe.
Okay.
That is somewhere in Ankwa local government area of Kogi State.
Okay.
In the 60s. I'm a grandfather now.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah. That's nice.
And as it was at that time, a child growing up was, first of all, a Muslim child.
Yeah.
First of all, start with Quranic school.
Okay.
I completed my Quranic school, and as I was completing it, I started primary school.
Oh, okay.
Ending my primary school, I went to Tenka School. From Tenka School, knowing that I didn't have so much play with tools and working with electrical instrument that I read. I had to go and do my external GCE, which I passed.
Yeah, okay.
After which I went to University of Ibadan Adult Education Center, got my advanced level GCE. From then I proceeded to the University of Abuja. After which I joined FRSC, and all the long, here we are today.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. So let's talk about, so every time road safety corps or, policeman or even last man, but usually it's the road safety corps members that check my car. So I have a fire extinguisher, I have a C caution. Well, they usually let me go when they just check my papers, really. But I just wanted to find out, is there any other thing, even if the road safety corps member is not checking for it in your car, what are the essentials that a car owner should have, whether a commercial bus driver or a private car owner? What should they have?
Thank you for that experience. The idea of we now delving into checking those things because of the consequences of not having them. They look basic, but definitely they are very, very important.
Okay.
So even if it's not for checking, in your own interest, in your own safety interest, you should have those basic things. For instance, when they check something like fire extinguisher, it looks minor. Many people forget that fire extinguisher is as important to you as the vehicle you are driving. Because in the event of any fire accident, that 10,000, 5,000 naira fire extinguisher could save the whole of your millions of naira vehicle.
Okay.
People misunderstand it. The triangular warning sign, the C caution.
Yes.
Yes, as minor as it is, as minor as people take it to, you discover that if your vehicle breaks down suddenly on the road, you cannot move away from the road. You have to walk on it there, put it at the back, where people that are coming will be warned that a stationary vehicle is in front. And anybody who did not observe that and still run into you cannot say that person is guilty of not being diligent. You understand?
Yeah.
And you look at issues of a light sign violation, like your trafficator, your full headlamp, your brake lights. These are things people take for granted. They believe that they don't need it. But we also know that these are minor things that people overlook, but are very important. So when they check all these things, and they also come to the issue of, let me look at your extra tire.
Okay.
Yes, you will think that you are safe when your tires are functional, you are moving, but not knowing the one that you are using to be repaired before you now join it. All these are things that are measures. You may not use them, but when you need to use them, are they available? So these are the basic things that.
So how often? So if I buy a fire extinguisher, how regularly should I, change it? Does it expire? So is it until I use it, or it's just there in my car?
It expires, and the expiring days are there.
Okay.
So if you have fire, many people we have seen, majority of them don't even know how to operate it. But it's not something you need to go to school to do. You understand? Or read the instructions. They are normally put there. And you may buy it just like tire too. Tires are like drugs. They also expire.
Okay.
Many people don't know that the tire you are using also have expiring date. They are there. But many people don't look at them. Therefore, they just believe that they bought new tires. But those new tires have expiring date that might have even expired. You understand? Just like a fire extinguisher too. The fire extinguisher you buy now may look new, or you might have bought it brand new, but it's expired. Therefore, it's still not serve the purpose of which you have bought it.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about education from the FRC to especially commercial drivers.
Yes.
Do you go to their motor parks? Because I see them all the time. So for example, this morning on my way to work,
Yes.
I saw an overloaded food truck. It was carrying food items going to the island, and this little was not a very big truck, was tilted to the other side and moving at a very slow pace.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find out, beyond just arresting them on the highway, do you go to their motor parks to educate them, to talk with them, even in the markets, open places? What does the FRC do to educate these drivers?
Thank you. You see, FRC management, in its wisdom, directed all the field operators that every morning, from units to the sector, every operational base of the corps, you must go to garages.
Okay.
Talk to the driver even before they set out for their daily activities. Talk to them on the need, first of all, to make sure they check the basic items, tire, water in their vehicles, wiper, and other basic things, and the need for them not to do some certain, engage in some certain traffic violations, like you have mentioned, overloading, the consequences of overloading the vehicle. Because when you overload a vehicle, you are not only overburdening the vehicle, you are creating the opportunity for you not to maneuver in the event of any incident. Because you are reducing the lifespan of that vehicle through constant overloading. So we put all this information to them, though we may not reach everyone every day, but as much as possible, we use all platforms, media platforms, part of which is what I'm even doing here now. Social media, mainstream media, motorpark rallies, conferences.
Oh, you have motorpark rallies?
Of course. It's part of what FRSC is known for.
Okay.
We organize motorpark rallies, and in fact, as we are going to the Ember Month now, you are going to be seeing the FRSC flagging off the campaign through motorpark rallies.
Okay.
Motorpark rally is one of our daily assignments, or common assignment that we carry out as a way of enlightening, updating, and educating the drivers on what to do and what not to do to avert road traffic crisis.
So now I am interested in those motorpark rallies that you talk about.
Yes.
What about the trailer parks? Because everybody in Nigeria knows how, and you are the FRC official who will have all the rates and how often trucks that carry containers, the heavy duty vehicles, how often they have their accidents for the minutest of things. Sometimes it's as bad as a friend of mine, her car was, thank God she had insurance for one of those heavy duty vehicles, and his brake was bad. And he would just say, Madam, I beg, no vex, my brake no catch. And I'm like, I don't understand.
Exactly.
So if you go to the trailer parks and you go to the motor parks and you have all those rallies, how come with this incidents are still on the increase?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We are living in a third world country where safety is always put at the back end. We don't take it to the front end. And it's part of the challenges that FRSC has to face. Before the establishment of the Corps in 1988, Nigeria was rated as one of the worst nation to drive motor vehicle on. And coming from that, you will see situations whereby when road traffic crises happen, Nigerians believe that it is an act of God or evil spirits. Fatalistic belief that don't attribute those causes to factors that scientifically are known. So we have to battle with that to create the impression that road traffic crises don't just happen. They are caused. And they are caused by factors that we know. And if we play by the rules, if we abide by those rules, we have confidence and trust that accidents will not happen. And even if they happen, they will not lead to death or fatal injury the way we are seeing it. This has been the center point of our campaign all along. We are not getting over yet. We specifically look at the menace of vehicles falling, let's say tankers falling, and articulated vehicle not properly hooked, also falling and causing hazards. We have had cause to engage in aggressive education, enlightenment, and enforcement. Part of which was even the issue of the minimum safety standards that articulated vehicles will meet up before they can be said to be operating on the road.
So what are the minimum safety standards that these vehicles should meet up?
These are one of them, as I speak to you now.
Yes.
We have those that load, because when cases of petrol tankers falling became too much, FRSC has to go into the questions of safe to load. That is physically deploying our men
Okay.
who stay at those depot, and ensuring that whichever vehicle that will be made to load must have some basic things like the brake you are talking about.
Yes.
The brake must be functional. The lighting system must be there. The tires, and the driver himself must also have evidence.
But how do you ensure, for example, so it's one thing that your official is there.
Yeah.
So what if he flags the vehicle and says this vehicle cannot go, but they still go ahead and get on the road?
No, because we are there in cooperation with the management of those depots.
Okay.
Therefore, whichever vehicle we identify not fit to load cannot load.
So what happens when this vehicle, so what about vehicles that now have accidents? Do they go back and trace it maybe to your FRC officials? Because we are in Nigeria,
yes,
and sometimes officials can get compromised.
It's possible that, when we talk about accident, if it is a real accident have dimensions.
Yes.
It's possible that what has happened was something that was unavoidable. But if it's something that was a result of somebody's negligence,
yes,
it can also be traced. And I think we don't have such cases of a vehicle certified to have been safe to loaded and went to have. But of course, there are other places or areas probably which we have not covered and which those people could get all those items, and it could happen that way.
All right.
But definitely to cover the major ones that are engaged in this, we'll make sure that our men are there. And so far, that is why you are able to see reduce cases the way you are seeing now.
Okay.
If not, in 4 or 5 years back, you know how it was in this country, where you're hearing of it happening here, it happening the second day, and so on.
Okay.
It's a continuous effort.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll take a quick break. When we come back from the break, we'll be looking at, December, the festive season is upon us, so we're just going to be looking at, all the safety measures we all need to take, especially with commercial vehicle drivers. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Thank you for staying with us. This is One and One. If you're just tuning in, my name is Fumiono Ajefe, and I have an FRC official with me today. So let's talk about now. The festive season is, we call it Ember months in Nigeria. Yes. September, October, November, and then December, the mother of all festivities in Nigeria. So how is the FRC preparing for this? And let's first of all talk in line with commercial drivers. We'll start with Lagos, for example, where we have the yellow buses. And we know that for anyone who has ever entered a yellow bus in Lagos, that seat belt doesn't really fasten. It's only most times when they see the FRC officials or last mile officials that they quickly just, put it on. So we're talking about going to their motor parks to educate them, but consistently, this young man, I know there was a time not so long ago, the sale of alcohol was banned in the motor parks. So what is the FRC doing about commercial drivers and safety of passengers?
Thank you. It's an issue in Nigeria where people maybe get up in the morning or they didn't sleep well, they want to artificially enhance their energy going through alcoholic or drug intake to keep them awake, and thereby making them to engage in acts that are hazardous to their life and the life of others. Like you mentioned earlier, that is why, in collaboration with relevant agencies, the sale of alcohol and some drugs within the parks were banned, so that at least the access to them could be restricted. And so that we can also be sure that whoever that is driving vehicle that we come across are not people that are under the social influences of illicit drugs, because we know the consequences of being there. What we are seeing in terms of people not understanding the benefit or adherence to the requirement for seat belts is the way it is in Africa, or in the kind of society we live in, where education is very limited. I know when we started the campaign for seat belts, which is not even too long, majority of the people don't even know what the seat belt is all about.
Also, yes.
And they have never used it. They don't even know how it is. We even have to struggle with teaching people how seat belts. But since they started using it, we are seeing increased level of compliance. There are still some people that have still not keyed into it, but definitely improvements are obvious. That people these days now know that it is in their interest that when they are seated in the vehicle, either in the front or at the back, the hang the seatbelt, because of the safety aspect of it, because of what the safety benefit of using seatbelt. We have said it before, that overloading your vehicle, you are not helping yourself. And it is most common during this Ember month, during this December period, where many passengers are available, and the driver want to maximize the profit, the benefit by trying not only to overload, but also to overspeed, to speed to a level where they will go and come back and go and come back as many times as possible, so that they can drive. And the consequence of it is accident, crashes that could lead to death or fatal injuries, and ending people's lives in a manner that could be avoided.
Okay, let's talk about the fact that there's a time that the FRC, the federal government, your organization wanted your officers to carry firearms at that point in time. How far has this gone? Because many people, even I kicked against it. I'm like, already with the policemen, we have so many issues. And then FRC officials, you have also seen videos of where some of times, and I understand sometimes it can be frustrating. You're correcting, a motorist or a passenger and they're misbehaving. You get emotional. You're jumping on their vehicle. So what happens when you now have a firearm? You shoot the person down. So how far with that? Has it been put down, or you're still carrying on to having firearms?
Okay, I think your opinion, people with this kind of opinion is why FRSA management has not been too aggressive in pushing for that arms. Because immediately, in fact, majority of us have gone for the training.
But why? I wanted to find out, why do you need firearms?
No, we are also vulnerable to violent attacks from not drivers or motorists, but also from armed people who may want to attack us, or violent people who come with arms, and will become defenseless. We know over the years that the law that established the core made provision for FRSC personnel to bear arms. But the fact that we have been able to enforce this law consistently for over 30 something years without that arms, anytime we stress the need for us, based on the experience our men have on the road to just armed attacks, the public opinion will want to say, no, we don't need FRSC to, and that's why government has been very, very reluctant. Outside that violent attack that our men are subjected to sometimes, and invading our offices where we become defenseless, we have been successful in using civil means to really enforce traffic rules in Nigeria. And even this debate came during the last National Constituent Assembly, during one of the assemblies, where one of the members was asking the Corps Marshal then, that is there any nation that you can recall that can enforce law without arms? And you really may not have that examples. You understand? But we, in our own case, we have been very, very successful in enforcing laws without recourse to arms, to use of arms. And that is a very good example that Nigeria is having. Despite the violent environment, violent nature of the environment and the people with whom we have to enforce this law, at least we have been successful in enforcing the law without recourse to the use of arms.
All right, fantastic. We just have a few more minutes to wrap up. I just want you to give a message to the motorists on the road. What are the things that what are the things or one thing they need to know to ensure their safety on the road?
Thank you very much. First of all, when you operate with the cautiousness that your families are waiting for you, you will not even need a law enforcement officer to restrain you from speeding, to make sure that you check your vehicle well before you enter it, and that as you are driving, you are not driving alone, you are driving and sharing the road with other road users, and that your action, or the action or inaction of others, your lives will not depend on source, that you have responsibility to be defensive in driving, and making sure that you don't overload your vehicle, you don't overspeed, your lighting system are functional, your tires are properly inflated, not over, not under, and that you are not under the influence of any drug or alcohol, and that you can see and be seen, and that your judgment may not lead to anything happening to you. When you are operating like this, even if we cannot prevent accident from happening, we have the assurance that even if they happen, they may not lead to fatal death or fatal injury. These are the realities with life, that accidents don't just happen. They are caused and they can be avoided.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just wanted to find out from you, what about your erring officers in FRC? How do you ensure that the officers, under your command are doing their job, they're not compromised, and and when they do fall out of line, they're punished, and when they also do very well, they're rewarded.
Thank you. In fact, FRSC is one organization that you can say have the strictest type of guidelines on monitoring their officers. We are people that, we are an organization that is dependent on civility as our principle. Even as the law trusts us with enforcement, they also trust us with attending to crash victims. We are blending regimentation with civility, and that is a peculiarity that is not too common. That as you are seeing me in uniform now, people see us as enforcers. We are also first aiders. You understand? Yeah. That creates that personality that a nation must trust, and therefore we cannot afford a situation where our officer and men will betray that trust. That is why constantly they are under surveillance. Surveillance to make sure that whatever they do conform with the operational guideline. Under the surveillance, that they don't intimidate, they don't harass the people they accost in the course of doing their work. And two, that whenever there are cases of corruption, like taking bribe, well, no nation or no institution is able to say we are 100% pure. But in the case of FRSC, since we don't have a return system whereby people go to the road and do something and return to the command officer, they know that if you are involved, if you are caught, either by the command officer himself or outside surveillance, you're on your own. With that institutional support for corruption or corrupt practices does not exist in FRSC. And that has been our focus. And that is where we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. We'll be reaching out to you
Yes.
more often, talk about this, especially now,
Yes.
like we're going into September, October. We'll be,
Yeah.
calling on you. And then please let us know about, your road rallies,
Okay.
motorpark rallies to see, how we can also work with you so we can also enlighten people as well about
That's
this.
right.
All right.
I assure you that whenever we are going to launch our coming Ember at my own units.
Okay, please let us know.
also give you,
Plus TV Africa would like to be a
yes,
part of that. All right, thank you very much for taking out your time to watch and enjoy the show. I'm so sure you have learned some things from it today. Stay with us again, and we'll be on your screen next week. My name is Fumino Ajefe.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Inflation exchange rate to decline in 2024, says CBN.
Sign the anti-sexual harassment bill to law. Of course, we'll also have Off the Press coming up immediately after the trending topics of the day. Good morning and welcome to The Breakfast. My name is Nyamgu Agaji.
My name is Rome Paulson. Good morning.
Today is a wonderful day. It's the 15th day of December.
10 days to Christmas.
So 10 days to Christmas now. I wonder how your preparations for the Christmas season are. I do hope that you're planning within your budget anyway. Don't enter 2024 in debt just because you wanted Christmas to be a talk of the town. It's not your birthday, by the way. It's Jesus' birthday. So the first thing to do is show that which Jesus came to die for. If you believe, whether you believe in Jesus or you don't believe in Jesus, so long as you participate in the holiday that marks the birth of Jesus Christ, what he stood for was love. So show love in the small way that you can. And that's the ultimate thing. It's not the new clothes, it's not the gift that you'll be giving people or yourself and all that, but show love in the way that is within your power to do.
I mean, there's always going to be so many Christmases as long as we're still alive. So don't say, oh, I want to
If we're not
borrow
alive,
money.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But yes, there's always, we're hoping for the best. We're hoping to be alive for a long time. So there's always going to be a lot of Christmases to spend with your family and friends. So don't go borrowing because you want to buy the fattest chicken or make the nicest party jollof rice or have the best clothes and everyone should know that, yes, I've arrived, Just spread love. Like we always like to say, spread love. Show kindness, right? Show kindness to yourself and to other people as well. So.
Show kindness, especially to your spouse. Don't put, especially the men, under so much pressure. The economy is really, really hard right now. I know of some families that in festive seasons like this, their wives especially will just be waiting for them to see what husband will bring home as the Christmas gift and all that. Sometimes it goes beyond the material things that you can get, especially at this time. So don't expect that Brazilian week at this time. Don't expect that.
Are you coming for me? No, I'm expecting all of those.
No, not really, but you have the entire year. These gifts can come at any time. Yes, at any time. So it doesn't have to be at a particular time. You're rounding off the year. If you have any debts, you want to pay those debts before the next year. You have to balance your books as it is. So the people who are family, especially, or friends, who should understand that that's also a form of showing love. Yeah. And sometimes also the men, whenever you say something about the women, sometimes you also have men who have high demands at this period. Show love by understanding that nobody is a superpower. There are some things that might be difficult at this time, but you have the entire year, like I said, to get these things.
Yeah, and I think at this time of the year, it should be more of reflection.
Yes.
So I think you're reflecting on how your year has turned out. So there's a form of gratitude, and then you're hoping for the next year. So at this point, you should start putting plans together. What do I want my 2024 to look like? Are there some things I need to take out? Because at the end of the day, you need self-development. You need to always grow. So what are the things, the excesses that you need to take out? What are the things you need to put in to ensure that you have a better year? And now is the time. Most times people wait till the 31st of December and then they're writing their New Year resolution and saying, oh, this is what I want for this year. And before you know it, by the 10th of January, they've forgotten about all of that. But now take it in. What do you want your year to look like? If you need to make a vision board, you should make a vision board. You should know what you want your year to look like. And I think the best time to start planning is now. So
yeah, in fact, it was yesterday. But you are here now. Don't wait for, like she said, the 31st of December before you do that. And by the way, when you're making your New Year resolutions, don't just put, I want to buy a car in 2024. When you put, I want to buy a car, what are the steps that you're going to take? Action plans. So that this week, okay, I've achieved this. I didn't achieve this. Let me move it to the next week and see how I can achieve this week's own and the next week's own together and all that. Small things that will lead to your buying that car need to be put in that your vision board, like she said and all that. Because if you just wait, let the money come, let me get this 2024, I'm going to get a car. It may be difficult, but what are you doing?
The little steps
per day, per week that will lead you to getting that 2024, that car in 2024.
Or house, maybe,
yes,
or
house, yeah.
Or maybe furthering your education. It could be anything, any plan that you have. Just
even
make sure.
If you plan to marry, because by, let's say, September you want to marry, or by December you want to marry. You will say, okay, in January I want to collect a list, for instance, and then when you collect
start
a list,
saving up to it.
Saving up and buying these things. Maybe your in-laws are looking for 10 travel bags that you have to buy.
Wow.
Sometimes they want 100 tubers of yarn.
Wow.
So anything that is not perishable, you start buying one after the other and ticking them. I've gotten this, I've gotten that, and all that, according to how important they might be.
All right, well, let's take our top trending stories this morning. So the first one we have is Rivers State Governor signs 800 billion naira appropriation bill. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara on Thursday signed into law the 2024 appropriation bill of 80 billion naira a day after he presented the budget estimates to the State House of Assembly led by Edison Ehie, who subsequently approved it. The signing ceremony was held in the conference room of the governor's office at the government house. The ceremony was witnessed by the Deputy Governor, Professor Ngozi Odu. Some meters of the state's Executive Council present and former lawmakers who support Governor Fubara, and some chairmen of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, at the local government area. The governor, in his address, said the estimated 800 billion naira bill, tagged Budget of Renewed Hope, Consolidation and Continuity, will be well implemented to provide critical infrastructure like the second phase of the landmark Trans-Kalabari Road and meet the socio-economic needs of the people. On his part, Edison Ehie, one of those contending the speakership seat in the Rivers State House of Assembly, commended the governor's foresight in expanding infrastructure and youth development through employment generation. The governor had on Wednesday presented the budget estimates to 5 lawmakers led by Ehie after a controversial demolition of the assembly complex. The Ehie group had also declared vacant the seats of 27 members that defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressive Congress, APC. Ehie and Martins Amewe-Wule have been embroiled in a speakership tussle that is in court.
Interesting news coming from River State. I like that, Abracadabra. The budget was presented on Wednesday and it was passed on Thursday. How they read that entire budget document and found the provisions to be agreeable to everybody still beats me.
Quick.
There's this comedian who says he's the fastest reader on earth. He can read an entire book in 3 seconds. I'm sure that's a gift that they had in River State and were able to do that. But it just goes to say, possibly it's because they just want to spite the other lawmakers and maybe the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, who is causing divisions in the state. Because no matter how we see it, he is still causing division in the state. Because people loyal to him are the ones who are defecting, swearing that they will never give a nod to the appropriation bill that was given by the governor and so many other things. Now they are even resigning. Who is suffering is the Rivers people. So I think this thing should be brought to the table, let them discuss it. Even though I don't think there's anything to discuss. A governor is a governor. Let him take charge of his state. Nobody else would come and say, okay, the structures in the state. What does that even mean?
I think that's like godfatherism. There's no how you want to say, yes, it's God. And I think if you are the governor, at the end of the day, you have a mandate. You have something to say, okay, this is what we want for the people of Rivers State. The governor should be able to rule the affairs of the state, not someone else. I mean, you've had your time to rule. You did what was necessary for you at that time. I don't think anybody was coming to micromanage you per se. So allow the governor to do his own bidding as well. And you don't have to face the FCT. You are the minister of the FCT, so face the FCT.
Yeah, he was there, and the first thing he did when he came was to, according to him, retire the entire godfathers of Rivers State. And then he wants to now become one. We don't know the veracity of the claims of the governor or the people in the camp of the governor, what kind of agreement he had with the governor, taking a percentage of the funds of the state. I don't know how much money they make, that someone will be taking a chunk of it to do whatever he's going to do as an individual, to furnish his political structures to the detriment of the Rivers people and all that. We don't know how true those claims are, but to want to always have a hold on the government house, it means that you want to gain something from there. So I don't know why our people keep doing this.
It's almost like you're still ruling, like you still want to rule even though you are not.
Someone has ruled for 8 years, left the place, but still rules till today, even though he has a bigger appointment. But my mouth will not say that. Okay, so the next one is that the president, Tinubu, sacks 5 aviation agencies heads, suspends NCAA boss. Now, President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday sacked the heads of various agencies in the aviation sector, replacing them with acting and substantive heads. They include Mr. Kabir Mohammed of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAAN, Mr. Taib Odunowo of the Nigeria Airspace Management Agency, Akinola Olateru of the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, Professor Mansur Matazu of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, and Alkali Modibo, Director of the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology. He also suspended the Director General of the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Musa Nuhu. According to a statement titled President Tinubu approves leadership changes in the aviation and aerospace development sector, and signed by Tinubu's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, it was revealed that on Wednesday night that Captain Nuhu's suspension was to enable the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to conduct an unfettered investigation into the activities of the suspended Director General and other senior officials in the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority. Consequently, the President appointed Mrs. Olubunmi Kuku as the substantive manager or managing director of FAAN, Umar Farouk as the substantive managing director of NAMA, Mr. Alex Bade Jr., son of former Chief of Air Staff, as the substantive Director General of NSIB. The President also named Professor Charles Anosike as the substantive Director General of NIMET, Mr. Joseph Imaligwe as the acting Director of NCAT, as Mr. Chris Najomo assumes office as the acting Director General of the NCAA immediately. Furthermore, he approved the commencement of the process to be conducted by the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, to recruit a substantive Vice Chancellor and other principal officers of the African Aviation and Aerospace University. Ngelale explained that the move was in line with the President's determination to bring world-class standards to Nigerian civil aviation in consumer protection and the promotion of the well-being of Nigerian passengers and other sectoral stakeholders, and also affirmed that all the directives of the President take immediate effect. The President also demanded the immediate establishment of world-class policy design, implementation, and regulatory frameworks to reposition the sector in alignment with his renewed hope agenda. I like that. But first of all, let me remember Rivers State. I like the fact that the road that was started by Wike will be continued and finished, hopefully, by Fubara. So it means it's a continuity there, and that is what every state needs. You don't come to get the accolades and go. You can do something, have a long-term plan that your successor can come and build upon. And when the successor comes, I hope that happens. Well, I'm interested in the aviation industry, not in the sacking of the people, except for one person who had to be suspended for investigations to go on. But I saw a story a few days ago that the Minister of Aviation is putting plans in place to make sure that when your flights are cancelled or delayed, you can be compensated.
Yes, that's how it is in most countries. I mean, if you go to the UK, even the US, if your flight is being cancelled, you're compensated. You're probably put in a hotel, and then you're put on the next flight and compensated in one way or another. But we found out that in Nigeria, nobody says anything. In fact, you are begging them, like, please, when are we boarding? When are we boarding? And oh, sorry, the flight has been cancelled. And there's nothing you can do about it. All of the inconveniences, nothing was...
It has happened to me twice.
Yeah.
Cancelled flights. And then I got to know about it when I got to the airport. Nobody called me, nothing. I just got to the airport. Oh, your flight has been cancelled. And they didn't even tell me when the next one will be.
Yeah, most times it's like that. And imagine if you have like a meeting to attend. Maybe I'm traveling to Abuja for a meeting. How am I supposed to get there? Like, if the flight is cancelled right now, I'm definitely going to miss the meeting. So imagine if someone was supposed to give me 500 billion. In that meeting, I've lost that.
You'll have to look for a witch and fly.
And look for a broom to fly. So I think that's a good thing, the fact that, you know, there will be compensation for passengers, because at the end of the day, most times, when you default, right, if you go to the airport late, they tell you, oh, sorry, we've, closed the boarding. You have to pay money to reschedule another flight. Maybe if you have that, and that's even if you show up in time, right? But then, when they are the ones who cancel, nothing happens. But when it's me, you expect me to bring out my money. So I think it should go both ways. You can't just be taken from me if you default as well, there should be compensation paid to me as a passenger.
There should be also clear what the kind of compensation, it will be, because when you default, they know the amount that they're going to charge you, maybe a percentage to add to what you've already paid and all that. But when they default, so how can they pay for the damages? Let us know. A minimum.
Is there a percentage of the amount?
Is it that they're refunding you and adding a percentage, or are they going to pay for the things that you likely have lost? Because if you lose 500 billion.
I think there might be peculiarities to several situations, so they can't just go on. Oh, this is what's damaged.
So let them tell us you'll have a refund.
I think if I was to propose something, I would probably say first you need to be able to put the person on the next flight, and then maybe you can even give them like air miles. To say that, okay, the next time you're flying with us, if you can't really give cash, maybe the next time you're flying with us, okay, you have like 50% off your ticket for the inconveniences caused. That is something, and I'll be happy, like when you do that, I'm like, okay, I mean, you're taking the initiative.
Yeah, but you have to put me on a plane that I would like to go on. Some planes, you just look at them and you're not comfortable with them, and maybe they're cheap enough and they just want you to go on that plane. Because they have defaulted. You have to put me on a plane that I would like, and a plane that is safe enough.
Yes,
that
exactly.
Can move to where I want to go to.
Yeah. But talking about this, the sacking of the chiefs, well, as we said, there was one that needed that investigation, but for the other ones, in a way, I feel like, why 5? But at the end of the day, I'm sure the president knows what's best. And yes, for the aviation industry, he's trying to put things together to ensure that it's a very good industry and everyone is happy. So let's see how that turns out.
Yeah, let's hope that the reforms are for the better. Let it not be that after the sacking, we'll still begin to hear, oh, you're very nepotistic, you're putting your people there, this and that. It has happened before, even in this administration.
Yes.
And then people were complaining. Even some of the staunch supporters of the president were complaining that he was being very biased in his selection for appointments.
Even the ministerial list as well, yes.
Let's hope that this is just because of an attempt to sanitize the sector and make it better.
All right. So we're going over to Rivers State again. Rivers State Attorney General resigns. The Rivers State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Professor Zacchaeus Andago, has resigned. His resignation was communicated in a letter dated 14th of November 2023 and addressed to Governor Sim Fubara. He noted that his exit from office was based on personal principles. Andago was one of the cabinet members of former Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, reappointed by Fubara. At the early stage of the crisis in the state, there were rumors that the former Attorney General, perceived as an ally of the now Minister of the FCT, had been sacked by the governor. However, that was denied by the state government. The crisis in Rivers State assumed another dimension early on Wednesday when the state government demolished the state legislative chamber. Justifying the demolition, the State Commissioner for Information and Communication, Joseph Johnson, in a statement on Wednesday said the place was unsafe for human habitation because of the recent explosion and fire incidents there. The demolition of the chamber came as the 4 lawmakers loyal to the state governor, Simlai Fubara, led by factional speaker Edison Ehie, held a plenary at the Government House, Port Harcourt, while the demolition was going on. On Monday, 27 members of the House elected on the People's Democratic Party platform defected to the All Progressive Congress, APC, and threatened to reject any request by the governor for approval. The lawmakers, in their letters written to the factional speaker, Martin Amahewule, and read on the floor of the House on Monday, stated that they defected because of the division in the party over the tussle for the position of the National Secretary.
Okay, now news reaching us is that 3 more people have resigned, and all of them are loyal to former Governor Wike. It goes back to what I was saying earlier, that he's causing a real rift in that state, and it's not good enough. If these people, like the Commissioner for Justice, for instance, he was in Wike's government and he was retained by this governor, which means he's coming with a wealth of experience that he's going to do some reforms and all that and take the state to greater heights. Now we have lost that because of interest, individual interest, and then 3 other people have also resigned. I don't know why the letter was dated 14th of November anyway, because it was just tendered now. Some of these people in the political scene in Nigeria, they write letters before they take up appointments, letters of resignation before you take up. We even heard it in Ondo State when some people were asked to write a letter of resignation and not date it until the time that they might need it. They will just put the date and that's it. These things should stop. But it's unfortunate that we've lost these people, not to death anyway, but the River State people would have enjoyed them, possibly, because they were handpicked because of their experience. And
you're coming with a wealth of experience.
Yes. So now the governor will have to look elsewhere to find people who maybe he didn't have in mind. So now the screening process and all that, it will take some time, and the Rivers people will be suffering for it.
And there's always going to be that lag because there has to be a transition period with finding the person, screening them, and even for the person to come and say, okay, this is what we want to do. So it might take a while, and imagine all of that time. River State might just be suffering.
There's also a possibility that a lot of people that will be approached will be afraid because we don't know why these people resign. Nigerians.
Well, they're saying because of the
Nigerians
power tussle.
don't resign. Even when they are at fault, even when things are going wrong, they never resign. It's very few that can resign and say based on principles or personal issues and all that. We've seen cases where people are even incapacitated and in hospital. We've seen on those state governor case, for instance. People don't want to resign. So for someone to resign, there's always that question: what made him to resign? And it feels like it's fear. Fear for something, and what is that something that we do not know? So if they can resign, it's possible others that maybe approach may not want to come and enter
like
into the
what am I getting myself into?
Yeah,
I don't want to go there, and this whole power tussle, I'm now caught in the middle.
Yeah, I lose my life. You can lose your life in some cases, or your family could be hurt or something. We don't know. Politicians in Nigeria, I don't know other places. I've not lived anywhere else, but in Nigeria, sometimes it's quite dangerous. And if we didn't have this fight between father and son, as they're calling themselves, River State could have moved forward more than it is now. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Anyways, we're going to go on a short break, and when we return, we will look at what the national dailies are saying this morning in Off the Press. Please stay with us.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
Thank you for staying with us. We apologize for the delay. Right now it's time for Off the Press. We want to see what the national dailies are saying this morning. And someone who is here to help us review it is Jide Johnson, who's the Chief Lecturer at Nigerian Institute of Journalism. Good morning, Mr. Jide. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
To all our viewers all over the world and to you guys in the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start with the Punch this morning, and the major headline here is about fuel price. We have reject World Bank's 750 naira per litre proposal. NLC wants federal government. So yesterday in the papers, the World Bank had proposed that the federal government should increase the fuel price to 750 per litre. Now, Labour is saying that this price, doesn't work. We have writers here that says, Labour says fresh price hike will lead to anarchy. Federal government insists subsidy has been removed. And Tinubu government fears unrest, subsidizing fuel secretly. Marketers allege project 1,000 naira per litre. What is your take on this? The World Bank proposing 750 per litre, and even the fact that it might get to 1,000 naira per litre.
I've never seen any economic recommendation or policies by the World Bank or the sister organization IMF in the last 50 plus years that I've lived that has helped the economy of Africa. On one hand, they will be talking about deregulation, allowing the market forces to determine the economic policies and commercial issues in Africa and developing countries. On the other hand, they will be coming up with fixing prices with regulation. So how does this fall into the capitalism objectives of IMF, bodies like IMF and World Bank, instructing government to just use fiat to fix the price at a particular level and not subjecting it to the market forces like they claim or like they do in their respective country. As far as I'm concerned, I've not seen any policies of IMF or World Bank helping African countries. I think African countries need to have a rethink and engage in an economic integration whereby they can trade with one another, and then their dependence on either the Paris Club or the London Club, whichever way you look at it, the World Bank or the IMF, will be reduced. Because I don't know how did World Bank come up with that particular price. Everything that I know that IMF and World Bank have suggested to African countries to stifle the citizens of this country is to make our country dependent on these international bureaucrats who sometimes don't even have business experiences, but are just international bureaucrats and diplomats working because they've been nominated into these various bodies by their respective government, not even having private business experiences to run any business, but they've been at the policy end, coming up with flip-flop policies that have failed over the years. I recall this same idea was suggested in 89 when we had whether we should take the IMF loan or we should not take the IMF loan. When Olufara was secretary to the federal government and Bangida was the president, we were deceived. At the end of the day, we collected the loan. What has it done to our economy? That's what actually destroyed the value of Naira. It destroyed the value of Naira completely. Naira couldn't compete competitively with all other currencies. That even when we had the opportunity of having the oil windfall due to the Gulf War in 1991-1992, there was no critical impact on the Nigerian economy. As far as I'm concerned, this is just my final take. African countries should ignore these economic technocrats who had no prior business, who had no prior experiences in running anything other than sitting at their desk and coming up with policy recommendation by one scholar or different scholars in different Ivy League institutions that you have abroad.
Okay, so something that's quite interesting was in yesterday's papers as well, the World Bank also said that the NNPCL is not being transparent with the subsidy removal. So they don't even know, we don't know how much is being taken off from that price. Now, moving over to $7.50 per litre, with the NNPCL not being transparent, how do we even know that we're not paying for way more than we should for this fuel, one? And two, what is the impact on Nigerians? Because obviously, if fuel is increased...
It's not news. You may recall the former Emir of Kano actually lost his job as the CBN governor as a result of being critical for the non-transparent nature with which NNPC is being run. We have stated this over and over again. You compare the way NNPC is being run with Aramco of Saudi Arabia, or you compare with Petronas of Brazil, or you compare with the oil company in Venezuela, you compare with what is done in Angola, you wonder which planet or which age is NNPC operating from. And what do we always have? Is a country that rewards mediocrity, is a country that rewards criminality. Because sometimes when you see people that have been given chief executive officers, instead of them being removed, they have been reinstated or being reconfirmed to continue to do what is not appropriate, what is not transparent. Nobody knows what NNPC is doing. That's clear. And that's been an argument. If you don't know what is coming in, how can you fix the prices of your product? There's a critical question that His Eminence, the former Emir of Kano asked, if NNPC is selling crude oil in dollars, where are the dollars? The dollars should be, the money does not belong to NNPC. The money should be going to central bank, but nobody is asking that question, and we are in this quagmire. We are living in this vicious circle that under Obasanjo in the 70s, we had belt tightening. Under Shagari, we had austerity measure. Under Babangida, we had SAP. So under different policies, we have seen policy recommendation by either IMF or the World Bank in order to have a turnaround of our economy. Rather than for the economy to turn around, the economy keep depressing. Rather than for Naira to rebound, Naira is not rebounding. Naira is losing its value at astronomical rate compared to the dollar. While we were young, I can tell you this was very instructive. I remember in 1981, when Bashali was to have a particular fight, whether in South Africa or somewhere, and they said they will pay him $100,000, and the value of that $100,000 at that particular point in time for his fight was 90,000 naira. I recall in 1986, before they came up with second tier, 1988-89, before they came up with second tier foreign exchange market, the value of naira to a dollar was 1 naira to 10 naira, and then we moved. When they did second tier foreign exchange market, it moved from 1 naira to 22 naira. So all of these policies, why can't we have a pan-African economic policy? We African countries we trade with one another, and they will do the exchange on the basis of their currency, as suggested by the Kenyan professor. Why should Africans be trading with one another? There can never be meaningful development in Africa except there's an economic integration, and it's important for that integration to happen. And that integration, even if it happens, if there's no transparency, in the local economy, that people don't know what is coming in and what is going out, then you can't balance your account. Then you can't grow your economy. And for us to be always relying on foreigners to give us the policy direction on how to shape our economy is wrong. I've said it. Nobody will help you to grow your economy. There's a particular saying, which is a popular saying: charity begins at home. Foreigners did not help Japan to grow the economy. Foreigners did not help the Chinese to grow the economy. Foreigners did not help the Americans to grow the economy. Foreigners did not help Britain to grow the economy was grown by the locals. And if we want to grow the economy in Nigeria, we need to encourage local trading, local investors, deregulate a lot of things, remove a lot of over-regulation, and then let there be transparency. We thought that the PIP, which has been an act of the parliament, would be a game changer, but it has turned to abracadabra. The more you do, the less you see.
Well, you were talking about recycling the same people that will not bring any good to the system. Perhaps what happened in the aviation sector will gladden your heart, or would it? Because the aviation agencies, 50 directors have been sacked already.
Yeah, that's the kind of something that should happen in NNPC. Yeah, that should have been something that should happen in NNPC, which is the major foreign exchange earner for us. You recall the imbroglio surrounding Nigerian air by the. Unfortunately for us, we are taught that when you have continuity in government in terms of even personnel that have been appointed into offices, it will bring about change because there is consolidation of whatever policy trust you come up with. Unfortunately, in the history of this country, we have never had it the way we had it under Buhari's administration. Wherever you have ministers serving in ministry for 8 years. For example, Adisirika was in aviation for 8 years. Fashola was in works announcing for 8 years. Ngige was in labor for 8 years. Aregbesola was in interior for 8 years. And then you begin to wonder what were the achievements that were achieved by these respective people that we have made mention of. We saw the mess that Adisirika made of the aviation sector. We saw the mess he created with the issue of Nigerian Air or not Nigerian Air, where we had to hire planes from Ethiopia Airlines at the twilight of Buhari's administration, and the plane was painted in Nigerian color, and the man is still walking free. He's not been arrested, he's not been prosecuted, or he's not being invited for questioning by EFC and the rest of it. So I'm in support of it, but if you check the headline, from the way it was reported in the Daily Trust, there's a dimension, there's a narrative that has been given to it that I like that. Oh, okay, Festus Keyamo sacked. There was an approval given by the president to that nobody can sack any civil servant without going through the normal civil service procedure. There are procedures that must have been followed. There must have been memo that must have been exchanged recommending the removal of this thing. You see, if you want to have a viral and active stable, you need to clean the organ stable, and that's you need to have a clean break from the past. So I love what is done in the aviation sector. I'm looking forward to it being done in the petroleum, in the oil and gas sector, so that we have a clean break from the past. And if you travel in Nigeria, you will know that there's a rot within the aviation sector, and there's a lot of corruption going on in that particular sector without any remittances coming to the federal government with respect to the money that comes from that particular sector. You know what money people make from tourism? Even just check United Arab Emirates. They grow their economy. More than 10% of their GDP comes from tourism, and part of tourism is air travel. So if you go to our respective airports, you see people flying in droves. You even see that. The routes they sell ticket for. So they sold ticket for rather. So I'm in support of what he has done. Kudos for him. And kudos to him.
All right. Thank you so much. We really wish we had time to look at most of all of these papers, but this is where we have to wrap it up on this segment. Thank you so much, sir, for coming to share some valuable insights.
I just want to clear out this because you had that conversation while you were doing the breakfast talking point with respect to what is happening in Rivers.
Yes.
Either A or B, both are wrong. It's what is happening in Rivers has happened before, and we never thought that after 24 years of democracy, we'll still be seeing some of the things that we thought would never happen again. Both the governor and his principal, their actions are antithetical to democratic principles, democratic values. And the earlier we call this out, the better. Otherwise, democracy is under threat in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Thank you. All right, we'll be speaking to Jide Johnson. He is the Chief Lecturer, Nigerian Institute of Journalism, and he was joining us here in Lagos State. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll be looking at our first hot topics. Please stay with us.
Well, thank God we just looked at the weather, and Lagos is going to be sunny today. We hope that is going to be the case because sometimes it's very unpredictable. But right now, we're not looking at the weather, we're looking at the economic weather of Nigeria. It's been said that inflation exchange rate will decline in 2014. That is according to the CBN.
2024.
2024. So let's look at that and see how possible that will be. Our guest this morning is Mukhtar Mohammed, who is an international finance and economics analyst. He's talking to us from Lagos here. Good morning and welcome to the program, Mukhtar.
Thank you so much for having me. Compliments of the season.
Same to you.
Same to you.
Okay, this is CBN being the prophet of good, not doom, saying that inflation and exchange rate will decline in 2024. Do you have pointers to this effect, that in 2024 these things will go down? The inflation rate will go down and the exchange rate will also decline. Have you seen policies that will bring this about?
Yeah, thank you. I wish I was optimistic at the CBN. I remember sometime the consultant for the presidential committee consultant on tax said that in December the exchange rate would be 700, between 700 and 750, and both in the official and the parallel market. And today it has not changed. Even it went above 1,000 in December in the official rate. So there's a saying that says talk is cheap. Anyone can talk, but you need to match your talk with action. I think thus far what we've seen from the current CBN governor is talk, and we've not seen action match up to it. Remember, before now they were expecting 13 billion. That was the Minister of Finance told us to the CBN, 3 billion from NNPC, and they will use that to stabilize the exchange rate. But up to this moment, that has not happened. And they were supposed to pay off some of the debt that the CBN is owing the banks. By this money, they just did a payment of just less than 5%, and up to now, they not continue that payment. So definitely, when you look at all that, with what they are saying, you have cause for concern to say that you don't think this will happen. But when you talk about policies, about policy drives, then you could be optimistic a little, because if you look at them telling you, the Minister of Finance said that they may be going back to the National Assembly for upward review, or maybe of revenue, because of the performance they've seen in revenue thus far. So you could also be excited about that. If you look at some of this policy, the policy of floating of the naira to attract investors, if that work in terms of liquidity coming into the foreign exchange market, definitely this rate will go down. But as it stands now, we are not seeing that. When you talk about inflation, the greatest fuel of inflation still remains the exchange rate, because we import a lot of the things that we eat or we consume in this country. So if you bring down the exchange rate, definitely you also be bringing down inflation. I believe that's what he himself knows that, and I think that's what they are working at. But like I said, those are all talk. We need to see the structures to guide us towards realizing these results.
Yeah, before we go to some other specifics within the Nigerian context, we would also like to look at what we've been talking about, even from yesterday, about what they advise that is coming from international bodies like the IMF or the
World Bank.
At this time. World Bank is telling us that we need to raise the taxes for SMEs. We need to sell fuel at $7.50 per liter. Even in the same breath, they're telling us that NNPC is not transparent enough, but they're still pegging some things and we don't know what data they're using. What are your comments on the advice of World Bank or all other international bodies that have been telling us things to do?
Well, I think if you want to go and look at history, whatever World Bank have told Nigeria to do has never ended up well for us. And the same World Bank told us to float the currency, they will support us with liquidity. We floated the currency, we saw our naira move from 450 to 1,000. World Bank has not done anything for us. So for me, I'm not a supporter of World Bank policy, but I'm a supporter of in-growth economic policy. No economic runs on external influence or external advice. because we must ask the World Bank or the IMF, what are they contributing to our economy? What have they done since we float the currency? What have they done? Since we remove subsidy, what have they done? They are the one that told us to remove subsidy, and we have done that. And they said we should caution it with some other effect so that the vulnerable will not be affected. And the government is looking at, look, if we have to continue like this, then the vulnerable we're already having about, according to the same World Bank, already have about 140 million Nigerians that are poor. 20 million was added to the poverty level last year. And the same World Bank is telling us to keep increasing rate in an economy that is suffering from inflation, in an economy that is suffering from a lot of foreign exchange volatility. So I don't think the government should be listening to the World Bank at this moment. I think the government should do what normal economies will do, boost liquidity inflow, make sure you stabilize the exchange rate by boosting liquidity inflow. Then you begin to look at reducing cost of doing business. SMEs are already suffering, and the government have said that we will not put tax on the already taxed. Rather, we are thinking of widening the tax bracket to get more Nigeria into the tax bracket. And that is the way the World Bank should be advising us on how to get Nigeria more into the tax bracket than telling us that, because they're telling us to tax the already taxed. Because as it stands now, the informal sector, less than 10% of the informal sectors are paying tax. So what we have is the formal tax sector that are really paying tax. So what I expect the World Bank to do for us, to bring us strategy on how we can attract more Nigeria into the tax bracket. SMEs are already suffering from supply chain disruption, from exchange rate volatility, from infrastructural decay, and yet you are saying those same people should be taxed the more. I don't think it's a policy that I think the government should look at. On fuel at 750, I want to ask them, what is the cost of refining of those fuel as it stands now? What has the price gone up internationally at the time we pegged it at 600 or 600 in some areas and 500 and something in some areas? Definitely no, because the price has gone up, but marginally. And they normally forget that NNPC is working tirelessly to make sure we begin to have internal supply of a refined petroleum product. And if we're able to do that, whatever cost they think they must have lost in terms of bringing the price to 600 from 750, they will gain when we internally begin to do our own production. And so maybe NNPC is looking at the long-term future of the petroleum sector and say, look, for now we can afford to do that. By December, Port Harcourt refinery will start. And by January, hopefully, we'll begin to refine petroleum products like PMS, but that is Dangote refinery. But in December, they will begin to refine other products that are even very, very important for industrialization, like diesel, aviation fuel, and others. So I don't think they've gone too far away from what they plan to do. But I am not a supporter of World Bank policy, especially when it in those things.
Okay, so a major player in this inflation saga that we're going through is fuel. And since the fuel subsidy has been removed, obviously, you've seen the spike in the high cost of transportation, even food, because a lot of people rely on this product. Now, with this, with fuel being so expensive, how can we now say, okay, we need policies that would actually reduce the inflation? Because inflation is about 27%. However, but food inflation is about 30%. And since it's dependent on this fuel subsidy being gone, how do we reduce that? How does this inflation start to decline? And then obviously we're talking about the exchange rate as well. What are the things we can actually do to ensure the decline in 2024?
Let me start with food inflation. Food inflation, you shouldn't forget that we still have the challenge of insecurity in the Northeast, North Central, banditry, and terrorism. So that also is hampering production. We will also forget about the farmers' herdsmen crisis in Benue State, which happened to be the food basket of Nigeria. A lot of farmers have still not gone back to their farm. There's still crisis there, even if it's not in the news like it used to be. That also is reducing demand, reducing supply in the market. Now you talk about routes. The routes also are not very good. especially from the rural areas, to move their goods. So that also causes cost of production to go high. It's not just the fuel that costs it to go high. And also, most of these vehicles that we use, or the machines that we use for production in terms of food processing, they are not manufactured yet, they are manufactured abroad, so that's where the exchange rate volatility comes in. So if you look at, like I said, if you look at all the challenges Nigeria is facing, you realize that there's always this exchange rate that is there, because the car spare parts are not produced here, you have to buy them abroad. So when those cars break down, they have to search for FX and fix those cars, and all that will culminate into the cost of transportation. So yes, food inflation is a challenge, but food inflation is fueled by transportation. Transportation is not just fueled only by increment in fuel price, but increment also in the product, in the purchasing of some of these spare parts of these vehicles when they go down. So that also is a major challenge. But fuel subsidy removal, yes, is a major fact. And what the government needs to do is to begin to see how they can intervene, not the type of direct intervention we saw before, but structural intervention. When we talk about structural intervention, we're talking about what are the end-use product of farming, agriculture? How are we going to bring those, government can intervene in terms of subsidy for agriculture? Is it in the area of providing of fertilizers? Is it in the area of electricity, either by solar system to this rural area, so that we have more time to do more production and others? And then most importantly, security. So those are for the agricultural sector. That's what I think government should do, and also begin to think of giving farmers soft loan through the commercial bank. I'm happy that CBN has finally said they will not give loan to anybody, because they don't have the modality to get back those loans. So they will move through commercial banks, even if they are going to exchange and intervene to commercial banks, which I think is very good. They could come up with the agricultural loan that we've seen before, and then begin to test commercial bank to loan it to these farmers on a single rate, but with strict monitoring to make sure that they are giving to those that are really farmers, not politicians. That will drive down costs. Then for the exchange rates, we need to attract inflow, and there are four major ways that we attract inflow in Nigeria. We attract inflow by direct foreign investment, we attract inflow by portfolio investment, we attract inflow by remittance from Nigeria in the diaspora, and we attract inflow by the sale of our crude oil and also other trades, non-agricultural trade, which in terms of inflow of effects is still far away from what we get in the petroleum sector. So what the government have said that next year we'll have a production level of 1.78 million barrels per day. Remember, in 2023, we're looking at 1.38 million barrels per day. We couldn't even achieve that, but they've hiked the barrel per day, and the security has improved. And so we will have to keep an eye on that, make sure we're able to maintain that 1.7 million barrels per day. That will attract a lot of inflow. And not to forget again, now we have the private refinery like Dangote also will be exporting refined petroleum products out of this country. We are attracting inflow that also will help us attract more dollar into our economy. Nigeria and the diaspora, they are just settling down, but because of the volatility of the exchange rate, a lot of them still go through other parties rather than before that they have to remit through the banks, and the banks give people through the normal exchange. So a lot of them are remitting through the parallel market, and so that is not attracting the kind of inflow to drop down the exchange rate. I think that government will need to work on that. Portfolio investors are not the only way government can work on that. Is to make sure there is stability in that space, that both the parallel and the official are par. And the only way you can do that is to attract liquidity into those systems. Now, you look at the other aspect again, which happened to be foreign direct investment. Throughout the 8 years of President Buhari, foreign direct investment keep diving till at the point they are non-existent. So we need to begin to track foreign direct investment. And the only way you can track foreign direct investment is, first of all, come up with macroeconomic stability. And that will also go down back to the exchange rate. Portfolio investors, the same thing. If you want to attract them, our equity market has been driven largely by local, which is very, very exciting for me, makes it very good for me. I just wish that most of the sector of our economy is being driven by locals. You can see the kind of bullish run we've seen in the market, because there's no panic in terms of remitting your fund to various countries because you think there's an external problem, election is coming, there is banditry in the northeast, even if it does not affect Lagos. So all those things are there. You saw the market enjoying local patronage and seeing the movements. But again, the market cannot be an isolation. It must be a global player. So you want to attract portfolio investors, then you must create that, go back again. You must create that exchange rate stability for portfolio investors to come in, because if they have to come in at a rate, they make sure that it is stable, so that when they make profit, they could be exiting in that rate also. So those are the challenges that are, and also for us in 2024, what I expect the CBN to do is to make sure that they clear up all backlog, especially in the aviation sector. If you clear that backlog, you attract liquidity into the system, you attract more foreign airlines into the system. Now, basically, Nigerians are the highest, they pay high in purchase than any other country in Africa. So, but if you clear up that rate will come down, and then most of these airlines no more collect fees in Naira. They always say, oh, they make it in such a way that the dollar is cheaper than the Naira. So you have no option than to sort for the dollar, make it cheaper for you. So all this could be addressed if the CBN attract liquidity into the system and create stability in the system. That, for me, would be what they should think about throughout 2024. And if they do that, automatically, inflation will come down. You see, Ghana was in a height about 30-something% in terms of inflation. Today, they are doing about 23 to 23%, because what they just did was to fight their exchange volatility when government intervened in key sector of their economy, and today the inflation kept going down in Ghana.
Okay, well, thank you so much. It's something about 2024, which means we've not heard the last of it. Like you said, we'll be watching, and possibly we'll be praying as well that things will work out well for us, because otherwise it will really be a tough year, 2024. We'd like to thank you, Mukhtar, for coming on the show this morning.
My pleasure for having me. Good morning.
Thank you.
Okay, that was Mukhtar Mohammed, International Finance and Economics Analyst, talking to us from Lagos State here. We'll take a short break, and when we return, the second hot topic will be on the stairs.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. And now it's time for our second hot topic. So it is said that 7 out of 10 girls in universities have been in some form of sexual harassment in Nigeria, and that is quite sad. So we're talking on why the president should sign the anti-sexual harassment bill to law. And today we have a guest, Omowumi Ogunrotimi. She's the Executive Director, Gender Mobile Initiative, and she'll be shedding some light on this topic. Good morning, Omowumi. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. It's an absolute delight to be here this morning.
Thank you. Okay, so let's get straight into it. We have 7 out of 10 girls being sexually harassed. That's even in universities. We're still talking about workplace harassment. We're still talking about people on the streets sometimes getting raped and all. Why do you think it's important that the president signs this bill to ensure that girls are not being harassed sexually?
Thank you very much for that question. I think you provided a bit of background already with the statistics that you just shared, which is even a very recent statistics. I think that statistics, was an outcome of the research conducted by the World Bank survey. I would say for a fact that sexual harassment has assumed a critical dimension. 7 out of 10 is an epidemic proportion. I would say that it has actually become a pandemic. And as such, it's important that the president actually signs the anti-sexual harassment bill into law. It's quite unfortunate that our citadel of learning have become the center for the sexual harassment. I imagine that, several years back, environment of learning would probably also assume the same, position as our churches, as our mosques, because they are places that are, supposedly assumed to be places that are safe, places that people can seek refuge and fortress. Unfortunately, the reverse is the case these days. Female students and even students in general go to school with the fear, with apprehension of sexual harassment, with apprehension of their body being...
Okay, I think we lost that audio for a bit. But yes, that's quite a very sad statistic. 7 out of 10 girls. And I know there's this thing...
according to the GMI.
Yes. And then there's this thing whereby, students go to school, and then even your lecturers who are supposed to be impacting knowledge into you are, asking you for sex for grades. I think there was even there was like a report on that several years ago. And sometimes people don't even have a choice. It's either you're being raped or then they coerce you into, such acts. And that is quite sad, because you would expect that these are the same people that should ensure your safety, that are trying to teach you the way to go, ensure that you're becoming a better citizen. And then they're coming and harassing you sexually.
Yeah, well, when we come back, if Omawumi will come back, I'd like to know the provisions of this bill that they're proposing that it be passed, how encompassing it is. Because if we're trying to protect the girls, we also will be thinking about, for me, I think everybody should be considered in the bill. Sometimes, but very few, boys also go through sexual harassment, either from male lecturers or from female lecturers, as the case may be. They also go through this. I don't know if it is also captured in this bill. And then we also find students sometimes that are initiating these things, like lecturer, I didn't have time to do your assignment, I can do anything, kind of language. And it becomes so common that the lecturer begins to feel entitled to it at some point. So what will be done also to these students that initiate this, if they can also be proven to have initiated it? If these things are covered by the bill, then everybody will know that if I behave myself, the bill will cover me, the bill will protect me and all that. So I'd like to know what the provisions of the bill are. Because if it is just one-sided, for me as a person, I wouldn't feel it is complete enough. Because when you're talking about injustice, it has to be for everybody. Gender-based, yes, well, the most vulnerable are the women. But what about the few men that have to go through all this trauma? Do we have to pass another bill after this one? So all those things, would like to know what the provisions of the bill are.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's super important that everyone is covered in a bill. Even if let's move universities aside, even in homes. You see this auntie or this friend that comes and harasses
You're even talking
young
about
boy.
friends and aunties, fathers and mothers. We've seen mothers who have given birth to children for their own sons.
Yeah,
We've seen fathers who have impregnated their own children. So we don't even look at uncles. Sometimes it's the uncles and aunties that protect the people from their own parents. So it's a general thing that we cannot single out a particular type of people that do this, because anybody can do it. The most trusted people can do it and all that. And
most times it's usually that way.
Because it is, you need to trust someone before you can follow that person to be kidnapped. For instance, I'm not saying the one that they do on the roads and all that. Some people come to their house, give your child sweet and all that. It's a trusted person and kidnap that person or rape that person. So sometimes it's the people that you trust that do these things. Fathers, mothers, aunties, uncles,
bosses. Can we talk about the workplace as well?
Bosses, yes. And even employees. There are some employees that will enter your DM and you'll be wondering whether in another life you were married. so it's all encompassing. So if this bill can cater to the needs or the protection of all aspects, I'll think it is good enough. But if it does not, well, we'll have to find out from Omowumi why it had to be
just
only
one gender. Yeah.
If that is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that right now they're fighting for the females, which we would not take from that. But we're just still saying that it would be nice to also put the men there as well. So we
Even
know
though we don't report that kind of thing.
Yeah,
most times. Sometimes the men.
I think it's an ego thing. Like, you don't want nobody to know that such has happened.
Proud. Every man was born proud, and every man never grows beyond being a baby. It's just the right circumstances and the right buttons that you press. Yeah, we know that. We know that the world is ruled by women, and we just have the brute strength. That's all. But even if you go to your house as a married man and you have a wife that you've been married to for 30 years, you still don't know where the matchbox is. As simple as that. So women rule the world. Like I always say, what a teardrop can achieve, wars cannot achieve. So women rule the world. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about vulnerability, and we're saying everybody is vulnerable. We may just want to put very stiff penalties or stiffer penalties for people who are the culprits of this, whether they are the ones that initiated it, whether they were forcefully done. And we should just know that everybody that commits a crime or does that thing which is not good to us will face a penalty that is unbelievable.
I think sometime last month it was in the headlines, or there was a lady, I think a politician or something, and she was talking about people, for instance, men who rape little girls, so pedophiles, their genitals should be cut off, and that should be the repercussion. And I think we took it then off the press because I had asked the guest if he thinks that was too extreme, and obviously that's quite extreme because it's barbaric. But yes, I think there should be things in place. So for instance, is the person going to serve a prison sentence, and how long would that be before they come out? Because sometimes you see the fact that a lot of these people would rape people. Let's take like a rape case, for instance. A lot of people will rape someone, they go to jail, 2-3 years, they're out again. And we've seen people, yes, they commit the same crime over and over again because the punishment is not as severe, is not as grave. So you feel like, oh, I'll just serve how many years? Done and dusted.
It also says something about psychology or mental health of people and how we take it in this country. Sometimes these people are not mentally okay. So it goes beyond sending someone to prison. Why are you sending him to prison? Why did he do the reason?
Have you done any evaluation?
Yeah, did he do what he did because of something else, not just because he was in his right senses and he did that? If there is something else, can you address that? Because we should be thinking about corrective measures sometimes, not only punishment. You're a last mile officer, you go and hide so that someone will commit a crime, you go and catch the person.
I know that happens a lot of times.
What happens to you trying to direct the person to do the right thing and all that?
Okay, Omaumi. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. We lost you for a bit. Okay, so I think Yambo has a question.
Yes, I was just saying, okay, we have established a background to that. We would like to know the provisions of this bill so that we know how far it goes and why it goes that far.
Absolutely. So the bill actually offers a very promising solution to the scale of the problem. So first is that the bill seeks to preserve the sanctity of educator and learner's fiduciary relationship. And we all know for a fact that fiduciary relationship is a relationship of trust, authority, dependency, and respect for human dignity. As a matter of fact, this particular bill